world as we know it has come to an end. The apocalypse has arrived. You are a survivor. Imagine now wandering through the rubble as nature reclaims what was once human civilization. Take a journey with us as we explore some eerily spooky, long-forgotten places in Pennsylvania.
Ooh, very spooky. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to STM Live. My name is Aaron. It is a privilege to be here with you as always. This is the weekly show where we sit down to celebrate / talk about the latest release in the STM library. And this week we're back with Mr. Aleks Petakov and a couple of surprise guests who I can't wait to introduce you to talk about the latest episode of Strange Places. And we will get there momentarily, but of course we do have to talk about a few very exciting announcements. First, there is a new episode of The Lore You Know available right now on your favorite podcasting platform. This week's episode features Small Town Monsters business manager Courtney Swihart, who is also one of our cinematographers and basically keeps this whole machine running. If Courtney quit tomorrow, I think all of us would just, retreat into the wilderness. So, excuse me, check that out. It's really cool, really interesting. And of course, our squad members have access to the video version. Speaking of videos, we're less now than 48 hours away from the wide release of Cryptid, the Chupacabra. You can get your pre-orders in right now over at shop.smalltownmonsters.com, and you can stream the film this coming Friday. Great way to kick off your weekend with a new movie. Super excited about that. Speaking of new things, one very cool thing. Well, we'll get there in just a second. Well, no, this is also a new thing. Recently, we revealed our exclusive t-shirt for Monster Fest 2 featuring art by Jeff Kunze. The only place to get this, the only place where you will ever be able to get this is at Monster Fest 2. And we still have VIP passes available, guys, which gets you a whole bunch of exclusive merch. So hit that up. Be sure to check it out. Don't miss it. I can't wait to hang out with you all in Canton. And speaking of Canton, that is the place where we filmed the most recent release in the STM library. As of today, episode 1 of UFOs Revisited went live for our squad members, aka YouTube channel members. I'm really excited about this, guys. I was going to take a second to describe it to you and explain what UFOs Revisited is, but I thought instead I would just show you. So presenting for the first time the world premiere, unless you follow Seth Breedlove on Instagram because he shared it yesterday, of the trailer for UFOs Revisited.
This came by way of electronic voice. All the power was out in the house, and it basically gave everybody in the home a stern warning in a very electronic sounding voice. Attention, we have allowed you to remain. Your friends will remain silent concerning us. Do not cause us to take action, which you will regret.
And again, there were some NASA engineers when they originally saw the imagery of the so-called face on Mars. They were compelled by that too.
Because as you said, Ron, they don't just witness these beings entering or exiting this craft, they have a physical confrontation with them.
She saw out in the backyard a small creature, and this little creature was tethered by some sort of line to a flying saucer that was hovering nearby.
Why would an alien spacecraft utilize lights?
But you said there's other witnesses. Well, did anyone recount seeing something similar in the days to follow or even later that same night?
What do we know about the Caracas dwarves? What do we know about the Caracas dwarves? You'll have to tune in to find out. Episode 1, featuring the Men in Black, is available for squad members right now, and everybody else, check out the world premiere on Sunday. It's going to be fun. Alrighty, folks, without further ado, well, last but not least, I do want to welcome our new squad members before I forget. Akadepare, I'm sorry. It's a really cool username. I'm just not able to put it together tonight. Welcome to the squad. And also Stacy, thank you so much for supporting Small Town Monsters. We appreciate you guys. Alrighty, now, without further ado, please welcome back to the show someone that you know and love. Yeah, this is not his first appearance. It certainly won't be his last. Mr. Aleks Petakov, how are you, brother?
Who, me? You guys know me?
Yeah, I'm assuming that. I mean, if
I'm good, man.
here.
I just want to say I love the UFOs Revisited. I got to kind of sneakily watch it over the past few days behind the scenes, and it's pretty cool. Anything with Micah Hanks in it is obviously just a plus, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a really cool concept with the roundtable. I think people are going to like it, and I love all the UFO stuff we've got going on lately. So
same, man.
more
Yeah,
on that
thank you.
to come.
I appreciate that. I'm excited. We'll be back at the next live show to talk about that. I forgot to mention that earlier, but yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think people are going to enjoy it. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, Aleks, you're joining us not for the first time, but we do have two people joining us for the first time. So in order on my screen from left to right, please welcome first Brian of Brian and Chewy Go Hiking. Did I get that right? Is that the correct?
You got it. You got it right.
Chewy's close by, right?
Chewy is out like a light, but he is. Oh, he's looking. As soon as you said his name, he looked.
He's like, hike? Going on a hike?
Well, Brian has hung out with us in the comments quite a bit. He's asked a lot of great questions on the show. So very excited to have you here tonight, Brian. Looking forward to hearing more from you. But it's not just the four of us. This is or three of us. It is four. We have one more guest tonight. Seen in this episode of Strange Places, and I believe a few other Mr. Aleks Petakov productions, if my memory serves correctly, is Mike. How's it going, man?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me tonight.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate you making time for us.
On?
Yeah. Usually it's just me and Alex staring at each other, waiting for the audience to ask an interesting question. So
Got to spice it up, right?
So real quick, since we have two first-time guests, could everybody just real briefly introduce themselves? Tell us who you are and what are you doing hanging out with Alex in post-apocalyptic locations? We'll start with Mike.
Yeah.
So I've known Aleks for a couple of years now, just through the Bigfoot field. I've done a good amount of Bigfoot research in PA. So when told me about this investigation, I was definitely on board, and it was a little, it was totally different too from like the usual stuff that we do. So definitely great experience, a lot of fun.
Very cool. And Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
All right. Well, I am an avid hiker, and I do a lot of my hiking in New Hampshire, mostly mountain hiking. I met Alex back in the winter of 2021, I believe. Alex,
I think so.
when you reached out, yeah, he's the first one that reached out to me when I had my encounter. So he was the first one I talked to comfortably about what happened to me, years back. So that's how we connected, and then through hiking and other interests, we've become really good friends. So
yeah,
that's and going on a lot of adventures, obviously, especially the Pennsylvania one, which was absolutely phenomenal. So I look forward to talking about that. So that'll be fun.
Brian's been in, he's been in, quite a few Beyond the Trails.
I've been in quite a few, and then I've been in quite a few where the weather ended up not panning out in the past year. So we've had to scrap a couple of episodes, but we've
potential filming that kind of went south. He's been in from a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago now, the Bigfoot in the Bridgewater Triangle. Brian was in that brief interview. He talked about a ghostly encounter his friend had. He was also in the New Hampshire track investigation for a track that him and another guy, our buddy Evan, had found. And you've been in a couple others since then. Some of the New Hampshire stuff, obviously now Strange Places. You'll be in multiple episodes of that as well. And Mike is in this episode too. So that's why I felt it would be cool to bring them on, give that perspective, because these are guys that I know kind of from the Bigfooting topic. That's how we've kind of gotten to know each other. And we went down to Pennsylvania, and I was filming 4 projects. So one of which was this one, and then a couple of other ones as well, including some Bigfoot stuff that'll eventually come out. I don't have the timeline on that, but that's why I thought it'd be cool to bring them in and just kind of talk about our awesome exploration there. It was really, again, cool change of pace, abandoned locations, urbex. I'm really into that kind of stuff. So I knew something I wanted to go in that direction a little bit with Strange Places.
Well, I'm really excited about this. Well, one, because it's always great to have other members of these crews and these teams, chat with our audience. So I'm really excited to have all of you guys here. But I love just the imagery in this episode so much. You guys captured so many incredible angles. The drone footage was on point, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you I spent the last 2 hours prior to this interview playing Fallout 4, because I've been a fan of that series for a long time. And just the aesthetic, that you guys captured took me right back to that. I was like, I got to go play this game again for half the afternoon when I should be doing something productive. So, I mean, you guys nailed it. That's not a question. You nailed it with the whole vibe and the feel of this place. It's
that's exactly what it feels like when you're walking into this place. I felt like when we first got onto that highway, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a scene of The Walking Dead. I felt like I was in the beginning scene of The Walking Dead with with all the tall grass growing out of the road. It was apocalyptic. It felt apocalyptic, and we were the only ones around, so it just had that vibe. And it was rainy, and it was misty, and the second day it was snowing. So we got a little of everything on this trip. But oh my God, it was just very apocalyptic. We were saying it was like a Call of Duty map in some of the places we were at.
Right.
No, you know what I think of? Do you remember that old show? It was on one of those nature channels. It was it's called Life After People. I think it started out with a documentary.
Yes, we actually have a comment.
There's a comment.
From,
I was going to
our
say.
squad member Nick. Yeah, I was about to bring that up. This episode reminded me of the old History Channel program Life After People.
I love that show. And
to it.
Maybe subconsciously, I mean, it's funny because when we were there, it was, you got that vibe, and we were talking about all this stuff. So the tunnels that were featured in the episode, that was like the main part of the episode. There was a really creepy movie called The Road that was filmed there. It's like a 2008, I think, with Viggo Mortensen. And it's basically a post-apocalyptic film. It's him and his son, and all life has almost been, trees and animal life has been killed on Earth. So there's just like cannibals roaming around everywhere. And he's trying to get out with his kid. And they filmed a major scene, a very disturbing scene at the tunnel. So it was really cool to kind of see that. And we had all this post-apocalyptic imagery. And when I was editing the episode a few weeks ago, I was watching the new Fallout series, of course. And so some of the songs, song choices were definitely influenced by that show. And that's why the whole theme of the episode, I kind of wanted to go for, again, Life After People. I called it a state of post-humanity. And I was talking about the references to pop culture, why there's so much, we have such a fascination with the end of the world. And all religions, basically, almost every single major religion has the end of the world, apocalypse, Armageddon, rapture, really big theme in a lot of different religions. So we have this fascination, and that's why I said, hey, let's frame this video in a sense of, let's go explore what post-apocalyptic world would kind of look like. And Pennsylvania just happened to have 3, and I wanted to highlight those 3 in particular that were used for different purposes. So we had the ghost town, of course. Now, Brian and Mike weren't on that one, but they were on the other 2 investigations, or the other 2 locations we went to after that. And they each had their own creepy aesthetic, and where people lived, or they were for transport or business. So that's why I kind of selected 3 different types of locations, not just all the same.
Yeah, you guys crushed it so hard. I had something I was going to add on to that, but I forgot it. I lost it. Here's a question for everybody from squad member Emily Lavulo. Speaking of ghosts, do locations like the ones you visit in the series ever give you the willies? Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain?
Guys, if you guys have anything, go ahead.
On this, I haven't had anything extraordinary happen that I couldn't explain. Not lately, not that I can think of offhand, no. And especially not on this trip. It was just the eeriest thing. What makes it eerie is, let's just say you're walking down a normal street and you see a stuffed animal with its head ripped off. That's just but when you see it in a tunnel,
literally saw that in one of the tunnels. Remember that?
It's an extra creepy vibe. But the most dangerous thing I think for us in those tunnels was where you step, because of all the holes that were in the.
That was creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really creepy. You could fall through some of them. So for me, that was the creepy factor, or not knowing if you could get out the other end. That was creepy for me on the top. That was pretty creepy.
You see in the video, we got to one point where we thought we had reached the end, and it was probably like the halfway
It was like
mark.
the halfway point.
And we were just like, oh my gosh, where is this going? Yeah, I think you're right, Brian. I mean, even in the first location there that I filmed, Concrete City, there was like this doll that was painted red, and it was just laying in a puddle. And I remember my brother and I walked up on it, and it's so creepy seeing that. It's just totally somebody might have just dropped it there, but you're in a creepy location. People there's rumors of cults, weird stuff. So you see something like that, and it just kind of creeps you out. I will say though, speaking on the ghost front, I don't really do ghost stuff, but there is, and I'll save this perhaps for another live, or you'll see it in an upcoming Strange Places, which also I filmed in Pennsylvania, about mines. There is some ghost elements to that, which I'll talk about. Mike was actually along for that when we were in the old jail there for the Carbon County Jail, and that's something we'll talk about in the future. So yeah, these places do give me the creeps, and there's times where you'll get weird stuff that happens that I don't know. I mean, I don't do ghost stuff, but hard to kind of explain it normally. So, but to be continued on that front.
Yeah. So yes, no, maybe we'll see. We'll see. Well, speaking of like the holes and stuff, that you guys ran into in these tunnels, that was actually a question I had in my notes. And it takes us to a comment from our friend Harvest Mary Moon. Scared for y'all, though. It looked dangerous, which kind of takes me to a question. What specifically with this location, we've talked a little bit about the dangers of investigating some of these dilapidated buildings, but specifically with this location, what are some of the dangers presented by this? Like if someone is watching this and thinking, I'm going to go check that place out, what do they need to know? Because I know somebody is. I am. I'm just not close enough to it.
Well, I'd say just be smart about it. Be careful. So this is a location that you can visit. It's public land. I mean, it's in this kind of state of vandalism and graffiti and all that stuff. But we ran into a couple people biking through there. You can totally go visit. Just be careful. Make sure you have lights that are fully charged. Let people know where you are, especially if you're planning on going into the tunnel like we did. It can take you a while. I mean, you saw it. That was like a 10-minute sequence, but in reality, that was over an hour that we were with our heads tilted like this, walking and trying not to hit our heads on the ceiling every 2 seconds. Just be smart. Have the right gear. Don't be afraid to get dirty because you're gonna have dust and all kinds of stuff. As you saw Chewy in there, the dog, he was just covered in dirt just walking through that environment. So just be smart about it. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything reckless. It's not worth it in an area like that. Just play it safe.
I went caving in the I believe it was the Mammoth Cave system in Kentucky or Tennessee when I was really, really young. And we were down there crawling half a mile underground in these little tunnels. And that's what that sequence reminded me of. And you guys were
that's cool.
Not that far underground. I was like, dang. Ominous. Brian, Mike, you guys have any thoughts on that? Just dangers and hazards of places like this?
The dangerous one for me, and it's a lot that Chewy couldn't do, what wasn't even it was at the paper mill. That to me, that there was some dangerous spots there.
Yeah, that was a sketchy one.
It looked like you were walking on just dirt, trees are on, but no, you're on a roof that is just vegetation has grown over that roof, and then you're seeing holes. There are just random holes everywhere where you're just going to drop into the basement and it's all water. It was the weirdest thing to watch. It's the first place I've really seen where Mother Nature was really taking over, to where that building was scary. Some of those, that was a shady place. Even Alex was saying when he was on top where I couldn't go with the dog, they had to go up these little stairs, and I was like, oh man. And even up there was pretty shady, and finding that little hobo fire pit.
I don't know what that was about.
But yeah,
Mike saw that.
To where that place was kind of crumbling. I mean, you could see even when we were in the basement where the beaver dam was, and you're looking up at the ceiling, and it's just crumbling, and there's just water constantly dripping. It's constantly soaking wet.
Yeah.
So that was creepy. To me, that's creepy. That's That's the creepy vibe.
But you remember the tower? There's that tower. Mike, I remember you and I were looking at that joking, oh, would you do that? And there's this insanely sketchy ladder that somebody had. It looks like they cut the ladder at one point and somebody tried to tie it back on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure somebody's gone up there. Obviously, that would be a horrifyingly stupid thing to do. And, you know, very high chance you'll fall and die up there. So that's why I just filmed it. I said, wow, that does not look very great.
I was getting dizzy looking up it. It was terrifying. I would never go up that. No way.
It's such a liminal thing. Like it's really spooky to see a place where people have been and then are not just there anymore. This might be the most obvious statement of the day, but no, yeah. Again, you guys captured the vibe of this place so well. We do have a question from a random man named Tyler Hall.
Who's that guy?
For anyone who doesn't know, Tyler is a member of the STM crew. Spoilers, he will actually be on next week's edition of STM Live. So come back to hang out with Tyler. But Tyler asks, did you see any lights while you guys were in Pennsylvania?
Not any weird lights. Saw plenty of other lights. Nothing weird. Yeah, we did, because we did a bunch of stuff. We did these locations that was kind of along the trip. And then we also did some kind of Bigfooting stuff. Didn't see anything weird there. And I actually went to the location of where I had a pretty interesting UFO sighting in 2019 that I'm going to be working on a project about at some point down the road as well. I didn't see anything this time. But obviously Tyler is doing a project about phantom lights in Pennsylvania. So he's got some cool stuff on that front. So definitely you want to keep in touch with that, because that's going to be a good one. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I've actually experienced. There are actually two notable times I've actually experienced the mysterious lights phenomenon.
Really?
Yeah. Once was in 2009 when I was in Western New York. I was at this super haunted cemetery, and then the second time was actually this past October, incidentally on a Bigfoot expedition in Northeast PA.
Oh wow.
Interesting.
I didn't even know about that one. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to link you up with Tyler. Tyler,
he's doing a whole series about phantom lights, and I'm going to be doing something about a different phantom light area very soon here, and I'll be doing some stuff with Tyler on that. So there's going to be a lot of collaboration going on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we'll have Alex put you in touch with Tyler. I'm excited about this. Sure. May not go anywhere, but I'm excited about it.
Good dudes.
Well, as always, guys, this seems like a good time to remind you, please do drop your questions and comments in the chat. We always like to hear from you. I have notes, but your questions are always better than mine. So just saying. We do have a comment from Oscar. Speaking of Pennsylvania, Oscar Vasquez says, hi, guys. Oscar from Fort Maris. I grew up in Pennsylvania in Harrisburg, 4 blocks from the capital. And then follows up with, you guys need to check out Centronia, Pennsylvania. I think we're talking about Centralia.
Centralia, yeah.
I believe you mean Centralia, yeah.
So I've had 50 people, when I mentioned Pennsylvania abandoned locations, I've had 50 people tell me in person, and then another 150 online, right? Commenting, hey, have you gone to Centralia? So here's the story, right? Centralia is very famous. Resident Evil kind of based it off that. It's an underground mine fire that's apparently still burning, and it's not the only one in Pennsylvania. There's a couple other places where there's mine fires burning. But the thing about Centralia is there's really nothing left to see there. From what I understand, there's barely any houses left. There's a church that you can't even visit. The road, there used to be this graffiti highway. Since I think 2020 or around there, it's private property. The owners put giant mounds of dirt for miles all on this road, completely blocking access to it. So there's really nothing to see there. So if people do think about going there, I mean, there's really not a whole lot from what because obviously I kind of looked it up originally, and that's how I found out the information. That's why I selected these locations instead. Plus I had sort of a travel plan as we were filming other stuff about the mines and everything. And yeah, so Centralia, unfortunately, not a lot to see there. I'd love to, see it if we could go back in time and check it out when it was kind of in its heyday, but there isn't a whole lot there anymore.
I was there in Centralia, I'm sorry, about 2 years ago. And to your point, Alex, a lot of stuff's knocked down. There's only really 2 or 3 things that are worth looking at. There's still a couple of there's still 1 or 2 cemeteries that are still there, pretty abandoned. There's a couple of places you could pull off, go off in the woods. There's these little crevices and small little caves from these boulders where like the smoke from the fires burning are coming out. So that was pretty cool. The only sad thing though was that those areas are covered in just like garbage and debris. Like it's literally like a dumping ground for that stuff. We visited that graffiti road. We saw the mounds. We were, playing on them and stuff like that. That was fun. But yeah, everything you said about it was pretty. It was pretty much on point. It's pretty sad.
Trash. It's not like any other abandoned place we've been to.
They all get trashed. That's a common theme here. Is you just see
I edit so much stuff out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, we won't go into detail, but the tunnels.
Yeah, the tunnels.
Right, the tunnels. Bad. I mean, I couldn't show very much of the inside of the tunnels because of just the obscene, inappropriate, disgusting graffiti on a lot of the walls there. And this is something you see at a lot of these locations. I don't understand why people can't just visit and enjoy it. Why they got to trash everything and destroy things and try to burn things down. And I don't get why people do that. It's very juvenile, if you ask me. But yeah, that's something we had to navigate around pretty much at all of the locations.
The one thing I noticed about the graffiti, though, that I was really tempted to do, there were a lot of phone numbers and there were a lot of social media handles. Yeah. So I was so tempted at one point to text one of these people, be like, "Yo, got your number from the tunnels."
So they're like pranking their friends, like, "Hey, call this guy here. Call this guy for a good time," and then they leave the number in the tunnel.
One more thing about the graffiti. The last place we went to, that's something we'll probably talk about down the road, obviously.
Yeah.
But how some people would correct some of the graffiti and they would just make a bunch of Squidwards out of it.
Yes. Yes. There were certain objects that would get turned into Squidwards.
Yeah.
That I can get behind.
That is great. Yeah,
that was good. That was very artistic.
that I appreciate.
Yeah.
The graffiti I can understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand people go out and do stuff like that. But what I want to know,
cool graffiti though. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I want to know who is hauling their garbage out to these isolated locations. Who wakes up in the morning and goes, "Well, honey, I'm going to go out to the burning abandoned town and drop." I don't understand that.
Like, I'm trying to pack as light as I can. I'm not going to be bringing all this stuff.
Yeah, you're on the highway. Oh, I got to dump the trash out of the car. Let me go down into the. I don't get it.
People just suck, man. I don't know.
And these places aren't just spots where like you just pull off the side of the road, you dump it. Like you have to go out of your way to get to these places.
Yeah. Right. Hiking. I mean, it's not easy. Yes. I mean, yeah. So it doesn't make any sense, but people, they'll find a way to screw everything up and just destroy anything. So that's kind of what you deal with going to a lot of these places. So that is what it is, but it's still cool to see it because I think even it does add, there's cool graffiti. Like there's some cool murals and artwork, but most of it's just juvenile. But I guess it would, kind of fit with that post-apocalyptic. You'd imagine people then are, whoever's left, they might do some graffiti or do that kind of stuff. It's an aesthetic that's always gonna kind of be there.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. It's hiking with garbage. I can't get that image out of my mind now. But yeah, Centralia, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but there's a pretty good chance going there you could die. Like it is not a safe place by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, the areas we were in, we didn't really get that vibe. Like I'm sure it is, especially just given like the remote nature and everything like that. But yeah, I'm sure like especially at night, it probably gets a little shady. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't stick your face in a hole where there's smoke coming out of. That's probably a good rule of thumb around there.
Good advice.
Already
good
did
advice. Mike's like, "Shh, man."
Actually, to that point, when we were talking about the dangers and stuff like that, one of the things I was curious because I remember when we got out of the first tunnel, I was sitting in my car. I had the alcohol wipes and I was like wiping my face, my hair off, and it was just covered in just gray. And I remember I was reviewing my footage. I saw all those particles in the air and stuff like that.
Yes.
I was like, we were breathing this shit in. Like
for a while, and that was probably right after we got into the second half of the tunnel, and you could even see it in some of Alex's footage how it looked like it was raining dust, the particles. I was like, oh my god, we were in there for like at least in that part for at least a half an hour breathing that in, walking
all that dirt, all that stuff that's kind of accumulating.
There was just one
in there.
part of that tunnel where there wasn't a lot of ventilation, and you could feel it. The air was thick. You could feel it when you were walking. And that was the worst. I think that was for me, that was probably the scariest part of the tunnels, was that feeling that thick air and having to breathe, knowing I'm breathing that in. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's something where like maybe a bandana or a buff or something might be a good idea. But this is not like I remember somebody, I think, had commented on the video saying, "Oh, what like safety equipment you guys have?" I mean, this is a location that's, you're walking through the tunnels. There's usually a very good airflow. It's not like some of the mines that I went into with people that know what they're doing, that they have proper safety equipment, because when you're underground, there's gases and things that you can't detect that you need to have equipment for. And that's maybe something we'll talk about kind of towards when that episode comes out, whenever that is. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, just maybe something for comfort to cover your face and not breathe that in. But
I mean,
it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, we had to stay in the middle though. We had to walk down the middle pretty much because of all the ventilation. Shafts that were just, there were these big slits in the
the big square ones. Yeah, you had to be careful.
Big square ones, that you could just whoop right down, like if you weren't paying attention. That was the dangerous part of the tunnels right there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, there were like two types of dangers. They were like the seen ones and the unseen ones, Like I'm sure just from breathing that stuff in alone, we probably shaved off a few years off our lives. So
well, I hope not, but yeah, no, you got to live a little on the dangerous side, right? Like that's the fun in life. You're not going to experience the adventure. There's always going to be a side of danger, and I've done so much crazy stuff too, just alone with the beyond the trail stuff. In a lot of these remote environments, so you have to just worry about. It's a different type of threat here, but definitely very similar but different.
You see that? You see the chat, Alex?
Oh. What did I miss?
Oh yeah, my brother just looks like he popped in to say hey.
There he is.
Anyway.
Shout out to Luca hanging out in the chat.
Luca?
Good to see you, buddy. We do have a question from our friend Central Florida Bigfoot. Where did you camp?
Who let this guy comment, man?
Yeah.
I don't know, Matt. No, he's a good dude. Where did we camp? We camped like along the way. Well, for the tunnels, it's actually really cool. It's in a state forest, and you can there's all kinds of like dispersed wild campsites. So we were kind of convoying. There was 3 of us, 2 RAV4s and a Jeep. And we just kind of picked a campsite, and we actually car camped that night because it was pretty rainy and cold. But all across the trip, we just camped along the way. We spent some time with Sean Forker and Matt Arner of the Sasquatch Experience podcast before we visited the last location, which was the mill. We had spent a few days camping with them, and yeah, we camped all along the way pretty much, at least from what I can recall. Yeah.
Very nice.
About I think 2 or 3 nights and 3 or 4 nights in total, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say so. It was like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. Yep.
Yeah,
we were bougie our first 2 nights. At a hotel.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said we were bougie our first 2 nights, staying at that nice hotel.
Yes, yeah, because I was on the trip a little bit longer than them, so I left the first day with my brother, and we actually car camped that night, and then we did Concrete City. That same day, we actually went mine exploring for about 5 to 6 hours, and that was I don't know if that was that was the night before I did the live stream with you, Aaron, when I was on the road.
Yes.
And so we did a hotel a couple nights because like after being in a mine, if you think you get dirty in those tunnels, in the mine you get insanely dirty. So we needed to have a hotel to clean up and shower after that kind of experience. And that'll be something you'll see later on. But yeah.
Looking forward to that one. Yeah, it's going to be cool. We have a question from Michael Tovar, our squad member in Austin, Texas. In the tunnels, surprised no people squatting in there. Also looked zombie-like. We mentioned The Walking Dead earlier. Did you guys see any evidence of people possibly habitating in these tunnels or any of these structures?
Not the tunnels. I imagine that'd probably be a pretty miserable place because of the airflow. I mean, it was extremely cold walking on the bottom of the tunnel. So the actual like railroad, or not railroad. Yeah, I guess it was railroad tunnel. Highway tunnel section. It was very cold. I mean, we were freezing, plus we'd gotten rained on, so we were already a little wet. It was pretty nice in the upper part of the tunnel, which would have been kind of the ventilation shaft. And then the bottom part, so you got a breeze there. I don't imagine that'd be a great place to live. Now, the other locations, you could conceivably see that. Concrete City, all those structures are leaking. I imagine that wouldn't be a great place to live. I'm sure probably someone's done it. And then obviously at the paper mill, obviously wouldn't be a good place, but we came across that weird little camp, and Mike saw that where they had the little pot and all the little fire pit made out of bricks. So somebody maybe was living there, just camping there for fun. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure plenty of these abandoned locations do get people squatting, and with such a big homelessness problem we have, unfortunately, in the U.S., I'm sure it happens plenty of places. I mean, a buddy of ours, Eric Swanson, he's got a YouTube channel, and he'll be in some. He's actually been in a Beyond the Trail, but he's done videos on people who live in the tunnels in New York, in this underground, like the mole people, as they call them. Really fascinating stuff, and it's unbelievable the resilience of people living in these just right under big cities and all these inhospitable places.
Well, that camp, I'm not sure if it was either a camp or maybe it was just some kind of like hangout, because
yeah, but they had a pot. It was just a weird little thing. I mean, I'm sure it was probably just maybe somebody messing around, but who knows?
Stuff you find in the woods becomes infinitely stranger. Like
it's like, again, we talk about like with the weird doll found. It's like that you see that anywhere else, whatever.
Yeah.
But you go to a place like this and it just takes on a creepiness,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I found a doll in the woods once. It was not a pleasant memory that I have.
No.
So, no, I'm with you there. Shout out to Major, our friend Mothman46, who asks, did Alex see any elk around the Austin Dam area? Always good to see Major.
It's funny. I actually did not, but these guys did when they were driving up, because I went on my own to go visit the location of where I saw that UFO in 2019. And that's near DuBois, Pennsylvania. It's like an hour and a half from where we were meeting up with Matt and Sean, and Mike, our buddy Mike N joined us for that as well. And they saw elk going in. So you guys can maybe talk about that.
Dozens of elk. They would just be in people's yards eating because they know that's a safe place. So we was catching them all the way up to where we camped for, doing the squatching. But yeah, the first time I've seen elk besides on TV. So that was the first time in person I saw him. Oh, gorgeous animal. So yeah, that was cool. That was neat. Very cool. Pennsylvania was really gorgeous driving through there with the cascades. They just had these cascades on the side of just little waterfalls on the side of the road. And we stopped a couple times, huh, Mike? Because it was gorgeous.
We were literally drinking from that water. That's probably.
Yeah, I know. We were.
Very cool. Very cool. Elk. Never seen an elk in person. My wife did a couple weeks ago.
They taste very good. Elk are huge. They're huge. Yeah. I mean, moose are big, but elk can get pretty big. And so Pennsylvania, people think, oh, elk. They typically probably think the Rocky Mountains or out west, where you have the Roosevelt elk out in the Pacific Northwest and the Rocky Mountain elk. But elk actually used to be native to a lot of areas, on the East Coast too. Pennsylvania, down to the Smokies. So I've seen them in the Smokies as well, in Tennessee, North Carolina. But I believe the herds that are now in Pennsylvania were reintroduced from Western elk. They had been had gone extinct in the eastern parts of the U.S. with everything that went on a couple hundred years ago, but they've brought them back. So it's really cool. So they even have an elk hunting season in Pennsylvania, which is just not something you'd expect, right?
Yeah, that's wild. My wife was in Colorado a couple weeks ago and sent me pictures of elk just by the side of the road.
Yep.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's literally what they were doing when we saw them. And there are tons of cars just like pull over to the side, getting pictures, videos. Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful animals. And again, like I said, it tastes very good. Pretty good meat.
Very cool. Yeah, they sell elk jerky in Colorado. I remember hearing that. We have a question from our friend Metallica 4567. Alex, where is your next film location?
Got a lot planned. I can't reveal anything because I don't like to spill the beans and ruin any potential stuff where I'm going. But I've got some stuff planned down south. I can talk about this one because we just filmed it. Brian here and I, as well as my brother and our buddy Eric, we went to a really cool location that I was just so excited about. I mean, it's a top 10 location.
I am still thinking it's been, how long's it been now? A week and a half?
Just a week. I mean, Wednesday, we hiked out last Wednesday. Yeah.
It is an epic location.
Unreal. It is
the first abandoned location we were able to stay at overnight.
Yeah, we stayed overnight. Well, Aaron, you'll like this because it's an
Oh.
abandoned Air Force radar station on top of a 3,000-foot mountain in Vermont. That sounds cool. The location, the scenery, the view is just unbelievable. You have 360-degree views into Canada, Vermont, New Hampshire, and the mountains. But the really interesting part about this base and I'll say here, and this will be covered in a Strange Places episode about this location, is that it's the site of multiple Project Blue Book UFO files that were actually sightings by people that were manning the base. So it was an early detection warning system used in the 50s and the 60s to detect Soviet craft during the Cold War, missiles, whatever, incoming. And there's actually multiple Project Blue Book files about anomalous objects seen in the skies there at the base. And one of them happened the same night as the Betty and Barney Hill abduction story, which is less than 40 miles from that mountain to where the mountain is where Betty and Barney Hill supposedly got abducted. And they tracked an object for 18 minutes on radar at the base. And there's I have the file, I've got it on my phone, the Project Blue Book file. And Betty and Barney Hill case is one of the most talked about UFO abduction stories in history, right? I mean, you guys talked about it obviously with UFOs Revisited, and almost nobody makes the connection with this really crazy abandoned base. At the time it was in operation. So I cannot wait to deep dive on that. That's going to be a great episode because it's going to be exploring that base, but also connecting it to the Betty Barney Hill story and that kind of UFO angle, which I think is really going to be awesome. I'm super excited to be working on that.
And it wasn't any small feat to get there. It wasn't easy.
No, it's a 20-mile round trip hike. Yes.
Dude. Well, for one, Alex might have just written a crossover episode between UFOs Revisited and Strange Places, so stay tuned for that. Two, we're gonna have to have all you guys back when that episode airs because that is so
it
cool.
was. We can't. We're still talking about it every day. We're talking.
Oh yeah.
It's just it left such a stain in my memory of just how awesome that place is.
There's a picture for you.
I want to.
It looks. I mean, it's got sci-fi vibes. It's got Star Wars Secret Rebel
I was
base.
literally about to say it looks like the
Close
end
Encounters
Fallout.
of the Third Kind.
I mean, it's got everything you could possibly want.
Dude,
And graffiti, of course.
Dude.
So
Oh,
it's
it's
cool as we
great,
camped on one of the top of one of those towers overnight. That was
really
It
neat.
was just
Yeah.
to watch the sunset and then to get up for the sunrise. It was magical.
dude. Yeah.
And again, I don't want to ruin
guys.
too much. We'll talk about it when the time comes for that.
It's going to be
But,
such an awesome episode. It's just visually stunning.
Heck yeah.
and
This
UFOs
is-
because that's
With
awesome.
a kick-ass backstory. I couldn't believe when you said that was linked. The Betty and Barney Hill was linked to that. I was like, oh wow, this
Yeah,
place is gonna be awesome.
It surprises
That's
people.
wild. Well, we do give, as you said, Alex, some coverage to Barney and Betty Hill and UFOs Revisited. So
Yeah.
not sure when those episodes will air, if they'll intersect with one another, but people will get it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. I didn't even know that. That's what's so cool is when our projects cross over with each other.
Isn't that
we don't
awesome?
know it's happening until it's time for them to air. It
And
actually
then
happens
there's a
lot.
connection made there. Yeah.
Yeah, happens a lot at Small Town Monsters. Very cool stuff. Our friend Central Florida Bigfoot has a question for Brian. Brian has a new haircut. Was
Is
he
this
abducted?
Is this Max or is this Matt? Because they both just bust my chops.
Yeah, there was at one point in the night where Brian, I just heard screaming at the base. We're all each in our tents, and I just see this light, and I hear him fading up in the distance. Tractor beam.
Came back, had less hair. I don't know.
Yeah.
Started screaming about Barney and Betty Hill. Hasn't stopped since
Right.
then. I saw them. They were on the ship. Michael Tovar. Everybody is really stoked about this episode we just teased, guys. I'm
Yeah.
going to lean into it, though. Michael Tovar says, looks like a platform for the Millennium Falcon, commenting on the pictures
Yeah,
that
it did. It looked like
Alex
a
shared a
platform.
moment
Yes.
ago. Yeah. For those of you listening to the replay of this later on via the audio version, Alex shared a few photos with us a moment ago, and one of them definitely did look like a Starship landing platform a la Star Wars, which is another fictional universe where I spend quite a bit of time. And then our friend Metallica4567 said, chat's moving on me here. I hope you guys don't have missing time. So, fortunately, you guys documented your trip, so I think hopefully you would know. But
That's funny.
be careful. Be careful. Here is a great comment from our friend Harvest Mary Moon. I've been saving this one because I really like it, and I think it's important. Y'all make it possible to bring the places to those that can't go. Thank y'all. And this is actually something I see in our YouTube comments all the time. All the time, especially when it comes to Alex's work, is just the feeling that people have that they're going on this journey with you and actually visiting these places. So that's not a question, but hats off to you guys for that, because I love it when people mention that.
Yeah, I think it's a big important part about trying to document the locations, whether it's strange places or certainly I've done this with Beyond the Trail. Just I like to convey the kind of the space that we're in. The environment is a big part of it. So, and I've gotten so many cool messages from people saying the same thing, or those comments where they're like, "Man, living vicariously, and I'm not physically able to do this kind of stuff anymore." And there's that kind of sense of enjoyment. So it makes me happy to know that people are kind of living vicariously and they're really enjoying kind of virtually joining us for the adventure.
Here's a question that just came to me. And Alex, you may have answered this before here. Obviously, you can answer it again, but I'd love to know from Mike and Brian, if you could do an investigation like this anywhere in the world, any abandoned or creepy location, what is your dream location? And pick 2 people. Who are you taking with you? Making it real easy. You got 2 crew members right here on the panel.
Holy
with you,
Jesus. That's a lot to take in right there.
It
Well,
is.
Mike, you can go first, man.
Don't put this on me.
I don't know. Holy cow, that was a lot of questions in one.
You're not waiting for my answer, are you?
No, I'm just waiting. I'll give you mine. I'll give you guys some time to think.
All right.
There's not a specific one that comes to mind, but I've seen a few pictures online of these like abandoned Soviet space program facilities in Russia, where they're just kind of like what you guys were talking about, these massive satellite dishes and these huge aircraft hangars, and they've just been sitting there since the end of the Cold War, and a lot of it's like some of these places may actually be used for something now, maybe they're storage facilities, but like the whole Soviet era is so interesting and there's so much rumor and conspiracy around it. I think it'd be really cool to go over there and check one of those places out. But I don't really want to go to Russia right now, just in general. And, I don't know anything about investigating abandoned locations without getting myself killed. So I would love to go to one of those spots, but that's what I got.
That's a good answer. Yeah. I agree, Aaron. I'm super fascinated in Soviet and Eastern European stuff, so that would be really cool.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Who knows? I might do some stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Never know. Never know. You speak some of the language over there.
Yeah, I might have some plans for this summer. We'll see.
Yeah.
For me, I love ancient locations. So, and I've probably loved these ancient locations probably because growing up, one of my first movies was Indiana Jones. So I think I would probably like to go maybe to the Mayan temples or something. I would like to go to a rainforest or something. I'll bring Indiana Jones. I'll bring Harrison Ford and someone else. Jeez, it's just to tag along. Who can just tag along with me? I gotta bring Chewie.
Oh, you gotta. Yeah. I guess I kind of put Brian in a bind here.
So Harrison Ford and Chewie to the Mayan temple.
That's a good combo. Great combo.
Saying that reminded me, I'm going to change my answer retroactively and also give Mike some more time because I sprung a question on him with no prior notice. But Darren Kuyu, the underground city that they discovered in Turkey, where they think is, and I'm actually, I had to look it up to make sure I got the name correct, but like they think is
similar to Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, just this whole city that's underground and it was abandoned. And I'm like, why was it abandoned? How did they build this thing? That is so wild to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
I want to go there. That's where I want to go. I say, I think STM can put that together.
Maybe. Hey man, sky's the limit.
Let's Aaron. We got this, right?
Strange Places Season 2 International. Next Small Town Monsters Kickstarter starts probably in February 2025. Folks, get ready. Send us to Darren Kuyu.
Oh my god. Come on, Mike. It's not that hard, man.
this is gonna be a boring answer. I'm probably gonna change it at some point, but I'd probably say just some of those abandoned parts of like St. Louis, Detroit, like
Urban decay.
yeah, urban decay. Like so many parts of those cities have just been, abandoned. People just got up and left over the years. I'd really be interested to just like poke around there, see what I could find.
Well, and that's fascinating. I didn't even think of that. That's fascinating because these are places where people are still close by, like other parts of the city are still active or thriving or whatever. But then you have whole sections, like you mentioned, Detroit, where it's basically, kind of looks like the end of the world. No disrespect to Detroit or anyone from there when I say that, but that would be a very fascinating study. Like you could do a whole series on abandoned places within major cities. That's a great idea, dude.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the urbex kind of stuff comes from, is people trying to go into buildings, and obviously there's a whole set of other threats you might have in a city, running into people and all kinds of other sketchy stuff. But it's the same, I guess, just a little bit different being in a remote location perhaps than somewhere a little closer to a big city. But yeah, there's still cool places to check out.
Yeah, for sure. I also didn't say who I was taking with me, but I'll take you guys to Darren Kuyu. You know what you're doing, and it's my show, so I get to pick all three of you. And also Chewy, he's coming.
Of course, the mascot. We got to have the mascot.
I like the light.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. Here's a fun comment from Beat Airspace or Beat 3 Airspace. The ruins of the Oracle of Delphi is very interesting.
Greece, has a lot of cool places in Greece.
That'd be very cool. Yeah, definitely here for that. And I gotta give a shout out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, once you start thinking about it, it's like the possibilities are endless. You've got to contend with time. How much time do you have, and logistically, and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's very tough because I have pretty much. If I had my way, I would have everything picked. Oh, there's Chewy.
There's Chewy. I was hoping he'd make an appearance.
What's up, bud?
Hey, buddy.
He's the best. Yeah, he's been in multiple STM productions as well over the years.
Yeah. Finally making an STM live appearance. This is the best day.
What a good boy.
I got to give a shout out to our friends Jesse and Joe, Hellbent Holler, hanging out in the chat tonight. Jesse and Joe are awesome. I can speak at length about how cool they are, but you can see them
doing some more strange places with them.
Ooh,
who knows?
Is that a possibility?
We shall see what happens. Yeah.
Yes. Jesse and Joe have been in strange places. They were in the first episode.
Yep.
And you can see them in the upcoming documentary, Dogman Territory, Werewolves in the Land Between the Lakes. Ooh, fancy. Oh, and they actually have a comment for us that I was hoping this would come up when I asked that question. The Dyatlov Pass. Yeah, if we're talking places in Russia. I'm actually afraid to go there, not because I think it's paranormal, but because I'm pretty sure the mountain would kill me.
Yeah, the Urals are pretty brutal from what I've heard. So
yeah, Almasty aside, I'm pretty sure I would die. I've read the book Dead Mountain by the guy that went and investigated that case extensively. And just hearing his description of what it takes to get to the Dyatlov Pass, I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine it's similar to like places in Alaska or some of these really hardcore mountain ranges that will absolutely kill you and not look back. Chew you up and won't spit you out, kind of thing. So
yeah, you just gone.
Yeah.
We're lucky we found the Dyatlov group, but
right.
Anyway, always got to shout out Jesse and Joe. Well, folks, we are coming up to the end of the evening. I just want to take a second and thank Alex, of course, as always, but Mike and Brian for joining us tonight. This was so much fun.
Oh, this was fun. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was a blast. For sure. I can't wait to come back on for that Vermont location. That was that was so fun. So fun.
Man.
What it was such an epic adventure.
I'm excited to see that. You are both welcome back anytime. So, definitely anytime Alex is like, do you mind if I bring so-and-so on? I'm like, yeah, please. That means I don't have to talk as much.
Right. Because usually it's just we do two people and, it's like, oh, do we start bringing more? And I'm like, yeah, it'd be awesome to bring some other folks in. And especially if I can't make it and let's say somebody else needs to fill my place, then people that are along for the trip makes sense. So, yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you again, guys, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for your questions and comments. If you were listening to this later on or watching the replay on the Squad channel, thank you for that as well. We just appreciate you being a part of the orbit here. Tune in next week for a very special, actually another roundtable discussion. We have a few members of the UFOs Revisited cast and crew joining us, one of whom will be Mr. Tyler Hall, and Alex and Mike and Brian will be back hopefully sooner than later. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Aaron.